Broad Street Review podcast is an extension of Broad Street Review, Philly's home for arts, culture, and conversation, an online arts and culture journal covering the greater Philadelphia area. I'm your host, Darnell Radford. Today on the podcast, Angel Sigala drops in to talk about the Hedgerow Theater U.S. premiere of Nora, A Doll's House by Steph Smith, directed by Emma Gibson. Here is my interview with Angel Sigala for Hedgerow Theater's Nora, A Doll's House. And welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Darnell Radford, and today I'm in the virtual studio with Angel Sigala.
Hola, hola.
Angel is currently in the production of Nora, A Doll's House at Hedgerow Theater, and we are excited to have him in studio today. So, Angel, welcome to the podcast.
Darnell, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be in Philly talking to you. This is nice.
Absolutely. For our listeners who may be familiar with the name, you may have seen Angel on several stages throughout the past few years here in Philadelphia, but you may have actually seen him on stage in New York on Broadway. So we're going to get into all of that. But I think this is such an exciting interview for me too, because we both have a theater in common.
We do.
Which is Theater Exile. So I work at Theater Exile today, and you worked at Theater Exile in the past. So
we did. Yeah, back in 2021, did Extreme Home Makeover there. Fun play, and a good company. It's one of my favorites in Philly.
Yes, and and I'm going to botch. I don't know the official name of the award, but the playwright of Extreme Home Makeover won an award that year too, which was really awesome. Great recognition for the piece itself.
Yes, she did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and so that was really cool, and it was a really interesting and engaging piece to consume in the odd atmosphere with this looming cloud of COVID hovering over all of us.
Seriously, I mean, being in rehearsals in masks and seeing the audience all masked and proof of vaccination was needed. Yeah, it was intense.
Oh, man. Yeah, and we're still feeling some of that. We still have, testing requirements and whatnot and all the concerns, and we're just as cautious about it all when all of our actors are in the space. I feel like the best thing I can do for an artist in our space is to stay as far away from them as possible. I'm just waving from afar. How's it going? I just want to make sure you're safe.
Now
healthy.
I feel you.
Just know I love you from an extreme distance.
And we love you right back. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So we're doing all this talking. So tell the listeners in the podcast about Angel. Give us a backstory, starting from birth, leaving out no details, getting right to this point.
Amazing. So, for everyone who's listening, my name is Angel Sigala, or Angel Sigala in Spanish. I am Mexican. I was born in Mexico, and in 1996, so I'm giving away my age here, but I was born and raised there in a little town called Coyotepec that is in the Estado de Mexico, right outside of Mexico City. And I started dancing there when I was like 6 years old, but I was always very musical. My family just loved music. My dad was dancer. My mom also danced Mexican folklore when she was younger. They just never really did it as a career. So it was really nice for them to sort of instill that love of music, instill that love of dance in me, and I was able to take advantage of it from a very young age. So I started dancing Mexican folklore when I was 6. And then when I was 10, my family and I moved here to the United States, and we moved right to Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, good old Conchi. And I lived there until until 2023 when I moved to New York City. So I've been a Philly boy ever since. I went to school at Temple University. I studied theater, BA in theater with a concentration in musical theater, which was before Temple got the BFA. And I worked regionally here. My first show was at Interact Theater Company. I did How to Use a Knife there, which won a Barrymore Award. And then went off to do a lot of work with People's Light Theater Company, with 11th Hour Theater Company, those of you who know in Philly. And then as I was working with People's Light, my life kind of shifted as I booked my Broadway debut. I saw an announcement on Instagram by Jim Carnahan Casting. They were nationally looking for this role called Mateo Diaz, mostly a Spanish-speaking queer artist to play this role who had some sort of musicality because they played the drums on stage. I was like, this is for me. Like I saw this, I was like, I have to do this. It's like destiny. Then that same day, a teacher from high school, an old teacher, sent me the same post, and I was like, okay, yeah, no, I would be dumb. So I sent in my headshot and my resume. I then heard back in like 2 days to submit materials that they sent. I sent a song and a side, and then from there they asked me to come in person. And by then, Mateo's big song called Gold was just finished. They had just finished writing it, and I came into it on the second day of auditions, which was also, I just want to say, it was the nicest and the most pleasant experience I've had in an audition ever. And for that to have been also like my first Broadway audition like that was so nice. And I know that I'm blessed to have had that experience. But almost everybody in that room was Latino, Latine, and we were just like rooting for each other, and the energy was so beautiful. But I got to audition for Susan Stroman, John Kander, and I booked my Broadway debut in the room. They let me know that same day, and it was like a wild dream come true. And then really quickly, I had to, move to New York. I had to start rehearsals in January of 2023, and yeah.
And the rest is history. That is so exciting. And, Philadelphia, I'm sure, is any other region where, artists hone their chops and then make it to, like LA and New York and so on. Like we're all here rooting for you. I was like, what? Who? Where? Yes. My new best friend, everybody gloms on like Philadelphia. You're from Philly? Okay, that's us. Exactly. That's our guy right there.
And I love that. And I felt that. I felt that so much. I felt the support and the love. And it just made me love Philly even more. Like, truly proud to be from here.
For all you listeners who are not in Philadelphia, there's truly something in the water here.
There is. They either love us or they hate us, but here
we will give you some of our talent, but we bring it right back home. I think it's so great over the years. Now we can actually say, like, there's so many people we know. And interestingly, a lot of them come from Temple, who make their way to New York and to Broadway stages and then on to greater things.
Yeah, Temple. Awesome. Temple's a pretty cool community, but I do got to say, just the theater community as a whole in Philly is so pleasant.
Absolutely.
It was hard to get into, I'm not going to lie. But once you're in it, I feel like people welcome you with warm arms, and it's really nice.
Yeah. I've always said, once you're in here, it's hard to let you go. And I think a way that we let artists go out into the wild and be themselves is through recognition. Like the recognition when you get a Barrymore, when you're nominated, if you're a Haas Award nominee, those are the times where it's like, okay, we're proud enough to share you with the rest of everyone, the rest of the world. I feel like those are all those things.
Yeah, don't for serious.
Yeah. Okay, so now after you've done all of those wonderful things, you make your way to the storied Hedgerow Theater.
Yes,
it's such an amazing legacy.
It really does. It was founded in 1923 as a sort of a proclamation of independent artistry that wasn't as commercial. And I think that we're, with this show, with Nora, A Doll's House, we're kind of doing that, and we're kind of sticking to that idea. And this is a U.S. premiere, so it's exciting. We are taking a very British play and we are making it right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it takes place over three time periods: 2018, 1973, and 1920, which were big years for women in America. And we're very excited to share this with this community.
Yeah, I was looking up on it because I was thinking like there's so many adaptations of this, and I was like, wait, is this the one that I saw last time? Just trying to. They were like, that sounds familiar. It's like anything A Doll's House. You're just like, I think I saw that. It is interesting because it has been a main stage production. It has been several fringe adaptations, and then A Doll's House 2. Lucas Nath had definitely been produced here in Philly. So it's just like there's just so much about this conversation that we just can't let go. What do you think as you've been exploring the piece in rehearsal, and even before it, before you stepped into it? What do you think is the reason that the conversation keeps coming back to A Doll's House?
I think, unfortunately, it's because the story deals with a lot of issues that are still relevant to today. We are seeing it right now with this administration, the stripping of rights for women and many marginalized communities. And we are scared of what could happen. And unfortunately, our culture, we've moved from it, but it's still very resonant. And I think we see that in this play. Which let's I'm also really excited to say, like, this is written by Steph Smith, a woman. We are seeing A Doll's House from the point of view of a woman, and we're seeing it in 3 different time periods, which it just sort of reverberates the importance of these topics of women fighting against the patriarchy, of gaining rights but also losing some. It's sad, but it's really poignant, and I think it's really important to talk about today.
Yeah. I mean, and so it's interesting the time frames that this new adaptation are going to take, because we're going to experience those moments, but also have that foundation of the time frames that the piece is playing in. Yeah. And you're just like, okay, the position of women at this point, yeah. And then at this point, and then as we're getting closer to today, it's saying like, wow, this is, I mean, yeah, it's just to think about. I remember having a conversation the other day with my partner saying like, the possibilities are literally endless. Like we just have to decide what to do and then map out a plan to do it. But like, what privilege to be able to even say that, because I know it's not that cut and dry, but to be able to feel optimistic about a pathway forward, is a privilege, because there are people who can't change their situation. And, because of the norms that society had placed at particular times, it wasn't even a thought process thinking about the LGBTQ plus community. That there was a time where getting married wasn't even a thought process. And so the conversation, the mindset, the mentality was just live in the moment, because, we can't put roots in this the way we want to. We just have to live every moment as if it's the only moment.
Yeah. And that's so crazy that I feel a lot of that like still resonating right now,
Yeah.
I am an immigrant. I am very proudly a DACA recipient. Which means I apply for this program every 2 years, and which allows me to legally work in the United States. And just that fear of the unknown, I don't know what's going to happen within this year. Like, will I get to call the U.S. my home for the next few years? Don't know. And which is scary, but, living in the moment and trying to take advantage of the platforms like this one, that we have in order to talk about it, to keep it in conversation at least, which I think will hopefully move things forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing I think is very interesting is when the conversation is about women's rights and agency. It's uncanny when you realize how the struggle that women are going through connects to everything else.
Amen.
All the time. If you think about like a women's march, the women's march has many messages, and it's because everyone is connected to all of these strong, powerful women who are out here, like, raising their voices and making themselves known, and saying, like, we're not going to go quietly. And I think that's always it's enlightening, but it's just showing that this connection, it ties us all together. and any kind of like diminishing of the value of women in society, I just think it just doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. It makes
no sense at all. I mean, I can't think of anyone who is justifiable, who would be justified to be diminished. I'm not saying like one or the other. Like, why can't it be like, I don't know. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying like this never made any sense.
Exactly.
And it still doesn't. And so that fight keeps on.
Yeah, and that's truly what we're trying to do here. And, speaking about the bravery of these women, we are led by three wonderful women.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda Schoonover being Nora 1.
Mm-hmm.
We also have Caitlin Cheng, who is playing our Nora 2. We are directed by Emma Gibson, and we have Mallory Avnet as Nora 3. I forgot space on that one. But to see them, first of all, the lift that they have in this play is insane. My character of Daniel is literally here to support these women and to help to move some of the plot along, but truly the play is about Nora, and it's about these three women, and not only the work that they have to do, but also the emotional stretch that they have to reach in this show alone is taking. We are very lucky that Steph Smith wrote a wonderful, wonderful play. So we have good text to work with, and I'm very excited for people to get to listen to it. It's very poetic. There's direct address in this show. We're talking straight to you. There's some memory, there's some flashbacks, and we're using a lot of movement in this show as well. So it's really exciting. It's fresh. It feels contemporary, but it's astounding, and they're really doing a wonderful work, and I commend them so much for the bravery that it's taking every single time that we get up to rehearse this play.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back to the first table read.
For sure.
I always find this to be very exciting because, you may have read it beforehand, or depending on when you came on board, this might be the first time you hear it all together, or if you're a designer or something. But this is the first time you get to hear voices interpret what's on the page. And so take us to the first read, and what were your impressions of the piece the first time it sort of processed into your mind?
The first time that we read the full thing, I was in tears by the end of it. I didn't expect for it to affect me that much. When I read it by myself, I understood it. There are times where we have Nora 1, Nora 2, Nora 3, back to back to back, and they're sort of talking in conversation with each other and with their friend Christine, which they also switch around. So it's just these three women doing it. And to hear it, in context, the poetry made a lot of sense. And it's so poignant and effective that by the time that you get to the end, it's a train that doesn't stop. So by the time that you get to this ending of discovery, of self-affirmation and empowerment, it just leaves you breathless. And very luckily, our director, Emma Gibson, has built in a moment, not to give any spoilers, but has built in a moment of breath for all of us to sort of sit in these feelings and these questions and these what ifs, which this play asks a lot. And it's still affecting me today, even more so right now that it's fully fleshed out. But even from that first table read, I was in tears.
Yeah.
Very excited.
I could imagine like getting through this process and like as soon as a scene is like nailed, you're like, I think we got it here. Like just taking stock in that moment and then moving on. Yeah.
Truly.
So is the piece still in 3 acts in this adaptation?
Yeah, so we have built it. Steph Smith has built it in 3 days. So we have day 1, day 2, day 3. In December, we are setting at December 22nd to the 24th. So we do get like some transitions and some breaks in between those 3 days, but it runs about an hour and 45 minutes. So straight through. Definitely use the bathroom, get your snacks before. But yeah, it kind of flies by pretty quickly, and it's pretty evenly divided between the 3 days.
Yeah, and so there's two other artists in the show as well. Two characters, Thomas and Nathan. Can you talk a little bit about them?
Absolutely. Thomas is played by Aaron Potratz, and our Nathan is played by Michael Stoller. I had the pleasure of going to school with Michael Stoller at Temple. He's also another Temple owl. And he's I would consider him a Philly favorite. Like, he is a great actor, and he's worked at Hedgerow before. Nathan's character has, I guess, what we would consider, he's a little slimy. But he's going through things. You know, he takes advantage of a certain situation, not to give any spoilers away, about with Nora, and blackmails Nora in our play. And, you know, as we know from the Ibsen adaptation, he is sort of like the evil nature of this play. But I think we've taken a very careful notice not to, you know, to try and make them as human as possible, all these different characters. And then Thomas, Nora's husband, is played by Aaron Potratz, who is returning to the stage after a hiatus of years. He is a father. He's got a beautiful family, and he's coming back to the stage in this first production, taking Thomas on. And I do have to say, it is quite stunning to see him navigate 3 different Thomases in 3 different time periods. Just his body. He is a mover. He is a movement coach and artist, a teaching artist. So you can just see that when he walks on stage. It's pretty cool.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. So great ensemble. Check.
Yes, we are very lucky.
For those keeping score, it's at the iconic and storied Hedgerow Theater. That's check.
Yeah.
Wonderful cast. Check. Wonderful director. Check. Set the scene for us. You know, we're in these different time frames, and so what does it look like visually for us?
Visually for us, well, we have a set that is very minimalist. It is winter outside, so in Pittsburgh we're seeing some snow. We actually have a beautiful surprise involving some snow. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And it's mostly about the words, right? And the with taking an opportunity with this text, we have then added a lot of movement onto it. So it allows for the audience to sort of take a step back and maybe imagine a little bit more of our world, which I think in turn just shifts the focus to the material at hand and the message, which I'm very excited for this audience here in the Media, Pennsylvania area and Delaware County that feels very mixed in terms of political views. Very excited and curious and scared for them to receive this message. Yeah.
It's funny because I guess we kind of feel like as a default, like if you enter into the theater, like you are setting yourself up for a conversation, and you're setting yourself up to be challenged.
Sure hope so. We sure
by the message that there. But you're right. You know, we are not just the suburban nature of Rose Valley, but also the makeup of our theater community in terms of audience, comes from all walks of life, and it is very interesting to think about. Especially you're putting so much time into the piece and bringing it all together. And then you're not even sure how an audience is going to respond to this. Like we can't know until they get there. And, we can't craft the audience to be, whatever we would think the ideal audience is. So, for those who've never been on a stage before, like that is why that energy is high every night, because it's a different audience every night. And it may as well be that every night is opening night.
Exactly. That kind of energy we love, and it's so addicting, which is, I think, why we keep coming back.
Yep. Also speaks to the power of live theater. There it is. Yet another reason live theater is so powerful.
That's right.
Yeah. So as Daniel, is there a moment, or are there moments in your portrayal that are either more weighty, or like you feel this particular moment more intensely, or it's your favorite moment, or it's your most challenging moment? Or are there any moments as Daniel that are like, wow, this one will stick with me?
Absolutely. Daniel is friends of Thomas, Nora's his husband, and it comes into the family in this version as one of Nora's only true friends in this world, where she is a mother, she is taking care of a home, and she is in a complicated marriage, but she at least has this one friend. And we know that in different time periods, this friendship between a man and a woman would be different. In 2018, it's very normalized. 1973, things were looking up, but in 1920, that energy is so different. And I have particularly enjoyed that. We see Daniel 3, which is 1920 Daniel, in day one of the show. And one of my favorite moments is just entering as a 1920s man. Just the stance alone is so powerful. But weighty moments. We do find out that Daniel is sick in day 2 of the show. And we have an intimate moment between him and Nora, which feels dangerous given the circumstances. Nora is a married woman. Daniel is her friend. But we have this very intimate, dangerous moment. And we've been working with our intimacy coordinator, which has been lovely. I love that now, as we step into new theaters, we're doing intimacy coordination. And for those of us who may not be familiar with that, it's somebody who comes in and deals with the intimate moments of the show. There's kissing, there's touching. And I think in living in today's time, we're trying to, more than anything, make sure that everybody feels safe, everybody feels taken care of. And so we have daily check-ins, where we feel, where we interact with our scene partner and we let them know about where we are today in terms of where we want to be touched in our bodies, where we don't want to be touched in our bodies. And we work very closely in a very private space through these intimate moments. And then we, start bringing people in as we feel more comfortable with them. But that has been really nice and juicy to sink your teeth into as an actor.
Yeah. Abby Weissman, intimacy director, one of many intimacy directors that have become invaluable in productions with sensitive scenes.
Talk about it, yes.
Yeah. It's been really great to have it as an official role over the past years, because when you're just observing all of this, you're just like, how long do you have to rehearse this? Like, there was a time where you didn't have an intimacy director, and so you kind of waited until the end of your rehearsal process to say, okay, now we're going to do this scene, and it's just like what I'm supposed to now, like, yell at you, like, completely, even though I love you as a person, but like yell at you, scream at you, touch you inappropriate. They're very heavy moments in some of these shows. And it feels almost crazy that we didn't have this before. But yeah, here we are. And there's so many like touching stories about, like, I just had that tough moment with my scene partner, and like we both exit at the same time, and so there's more of like a check-in with each other after that too, to make sure that everybody's in a good spot. And it's like, because we're channeling the anger or the frustration or the intensity of the characters in that moment, not the artists in that moment. And so we want to make sure that we have a moment to reset and kind of get back into things after these very tough scenes, because they are very impactful moments, and they leave the audience like, wow, like bowled over. Sometimes it's just like, that happened,
right?
and it's in the piece, and they did not hold back at all.
And if the audience is affected by it, you can only imagine that the people who are doing it up there for you, like they carry some of that with them, and we do our best, to check in, like you said, afterwards, and to let that go. But yeah, it's emotional.
Absolutely. So before we sign off for today, I always hesitate asking this, but it is interesting for people to know. It's like I always ask, like, what do you hope people take away from this experience? And it is a question that I always hate to ask, but I continue to ask it because we can't predict what they take away. But in your thoughts, when you walk away from this, what would you hope that people had taken from the entire rehearsal process, the direction, the production team, and all the elements that they brought together? Like, what do you hope when people walk out of the theater, they say, wow, ...
Yeah. Oh, I do hope. I mean, my answer with a lot of the theater that I do and that I like to take part of is, hopefully leaving an audience with a sense of empathy, more empathy, more of a connection to each other and to the world around us. And we hope that incites conversations. But with this one in particular, well, I just hope that we can all take away, or at least think about our role in the oppression of women and femme people in our society.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that we can all look within and maybe check ourselves on some of the moments that we may see on stage. And I hope that when femme people with there's a little bit of queerness in the show too, which I forgot about, but it's very important. When femme people, when queer people, when women see this, I hope that they feel a sense of power that we maybe have not felt with a Doll's House before. And I hope that we walk away at least feeling like there could be a little bit of hope if we connect, if we look within, if we are true to ourselves, and if we can, in return, reach a hand out and try to help build society forward.
Yeah.
Long-winded answer, but yeah.
No, it's a great answer.
Thank you.
We'll go into that space and escape present day. We'll escape 2025, and we'll explore the 1920s, the 1970s, and the 20 teens.
Yeah.
And we get to look back, and then we get to walk out into the world present day and see how far we've come. And also realize that change is always, it's a constant.
Amen.
And we embrace that. I think sometimes people are hung up on the way things used to be, and I honestly I never hear a person of color talking about that. The way things used to be. I'm like, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like things aren't great right now, but I would not want to go back to 50 years ago. And so it's always interesting when you hear that. You don't often hear it out loud. You hear it in like hot mics, in places where they know they're just going to rile people up. And I don't understand why that is a need to do. But there is an attempt to divide us out there.
Yeah.
And, I think the theater is what brings us all together. We get to experience these moments. We get to explore the journeys of characters who we may not resonate with, but are written so well that we can empathize with their struggle, whether we agree with them or not. And, I think that's the beauty of theater. And and live theater in general, to be able to walk in and experience all that with strangers or your friends, because again, theater is more fun with a +1. Bring somebody, buy extra tickets, and then we get to walk out into the world and kind of process all of that and sort of blend it into the fabric of who we are now, and so on. Yeah,
I love that, blend it into the fabric.
Yes. So the production is Nora, A Doll's House by Steph Smith. It's directed by Emma Gibson. It is, if you're listening to this now, it is on stage through April 6th, and you can get your tickets by going to Hedgerow Theater, and that's theaterre.org. And like I said, get tickets, plural, because theater is more fun with a +1.
I know, that's right. Yeah.
I know. I've got to put it on a t-shirt. I think it's great.
I think we need it. I will buy one, please.
Absolutely. Angel Sigala, thank you so much for bringing your talent to the United States, for one, and for calling Philadelphia home. And even though you had a bite of the apple, you're still Philadelphia through and through. And so we love that. And we'll continue to follow your journey wherever it leads. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about this piece. And everybody get down to Hedgerow. They're doing some great things out there. Hedgerowtheater.org.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It was truly a pleasure. Thank you to our guest, Angel Sigala, for joining us on today's podcast. The Broad Street Review podcast is an Emory production. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, visit us online at em3ry.com. Get involved with Broad Street Review. Head on over to our website at www.broadstreetreview.com and click Get Involved at the top. While you're there, help keep us running and click Donate to find out how. There, you can also find our social media links. Thank you for your part in keeping the conversation going.